All I'm gonna say is kids always gonna know Tom Brady as the GOAT. Patrick is good, but Tom was cemented in generation. And my response to that is no.
He was just stepping out to the little party, and the night ended up with a body. Big booty bitch, way bigger than Mazzani. While he cool with the wood like design. Why hit the top to go back?
Yo, what's up, y'all? It's Zaza Sports back with another video, and today is our first hot takes videos, boys. I finally got enough comment to make one of these motherfuckers. I've been wanting to make one for a while. But with that being said, like, subscribe, drop some more hot takes in the comments, and let's get into this. And for our first hot take of the day, Camp Media Co. says Nick Foles had the singular best Super Bowl performance by a quarterback. And for reference, Nick Foles' stats in this Super Bowl was 373 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Not to mention a touchdown catch on the iconic Philly special. Now, while this is a great performance by Nick Foles, I believe you could argue Tom Brady in the same Super Bowl played a better game than Nick Foles, throwing 505 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions, while also having the higher QBR in the game. Now, this isn't to discredit Nick Foles or anything, but I'm of the belief Tom Brady had the better game, and not to mention Steve Young in 1994, arguably the single greatest quarterback performance ever in a game. Steve Young would throw for 325 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions, with a QBR of 134.8. Now, this game is just objectively better than Nick Foles. While Nick Foles played great, it was on the level of Steve Young throwing 6 touchdowns. And not to mention Joe Montana in the big game in 1990. He'd throw for 297 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. While Nick Foles' performance was overall great, it doesn't compare to the all-time quarterback performances in the big game. I like the spirit, but I disagree with this hot take big time. And for our next hot take, Owen Smith said, Isaiah Thomas is a better player than Steph Curry in a vacuum because he was more clutch and better defensively. Now, better defensively is pretty accurate, but the meaning of clutch can mean different things to other people. Some people only mean the last 2 minutes as clutch, which is stupid. How you perform overall in a game 7 is clutch, or how you end the series is clutch in the final game. Now, personally, I have Isaiah Thomas as the 3rd greatest point guard of all time. I do agree he's underrated, but in a vacuum, I do not believe he's better than Steph Curry. Simply put, Curry is one of the singular players where his one skill is such a problem on the NBA court that it creates more offense for his whole team. He pulls more defenders over to him. It leaves the paint wide open. It leaves cutting slashers wide open, and you'd rather have anybody else take a 3 than Steph Curry. While you could argue Isaiah Thomas has more things in his game that are better than Steph Curry's one thing, which is shooting, is such a great attribute that you could really only compare Shaquille O'Neal in 2000 to him when it comes to gravity on the court and being overall unstoppable. But I don't really hate this take, but I'm just gonna disagree. You can believe what you want. Now, the next hot take is from Jedi Hank 445. He says, all I'm gonna say is kids always gonna know Tom Brady as the GOAT. Patrick is good, but Tom was cemented in generation. And my response to that is no. While he is cemented in generations in the sense that he played for so long, multiple generations watched his dominance, there's always someone better coming up. And this idea somebody will be the GOAT forever is just flat out silly to me. Up until 2014, Joe Montana was the consensus GOAT quarterback. And some people would even say Joe Montana will forever be the GOAT because simply he was the greatest Super Bowl performer of all time. He was 4-0 in the Super Bowl and had multiple MVPs. People thought it'd be impossible for people to get the accolades of Joe Montana. But the guy you're talking about in Tom Brady had something else to say, because after 2014, Tom Brady would rattle off 4 more Super Bowl wins to make it without a question that he's the GOAT. And honestly, for most of my 20 years, it was cemented Joe Montana was the GOAT quarterback of the NFL. But now it's shifted. So you can't just go out here and say that Tom Brady will always and forever be the GOAT no matter what. Because simply, it wasn't too long ago where he wasn't considered it. So I just have to disagree with this take again. Dang, y'all niggas are 0 for 3 with me. Our next hot take is coming from Brennan. He says, my take is I don't think Kobe belongs in anyone's top 5. He maybe cracks top 10, and I feel like I can name 10 better players than him overall. Not a bad player, but super highly overrated in my opinion. Just found your channel. Love your videos. Keep up the good work. Appreciate you, Brennan. And for your take, I can't really disagree with you because a lot of people do have Kobe out of their top 5, and it's not crazy to, in my opinion. But with that being said, I don't think it's too crazy having Kobe Bryant in your top 5, simply because you can look at his accolades. He has the 2nd most all-defensive teams of all time, and he's known as a scorer. He won 5 rings all with the same team, winning 2 final MVPs as well. And he has 15 all-NBA teams. Simply put, I don't think I can name 10 players with those better player accolades alone. And that's not even going too deep into it. But not in top 5, yeah, I can get down with that. And before Kobe died, a lot of people didn't even have him in the top 10. They had him at number 12. But I can't really disagree with your take because it's mainly your opinion. If you can name 10 better players than Kobe Bryant and give good reasons for it, hey, I can't knock that. The next take comes from Kazmas7777. And he says, any list of wide receivers without Don Hutson has zero credibility and can't be taken seriously. Hudson is the conversation for the greatest player ever with Brady, LT, and Rice. Dude had seasons where he nearly had 3 times more receptions and 2 times the receiving yards than the next player and retired with every record and by large margins. And my response to that is, while I think Don Hutson is a top 20 NFL wide receiver, you cannot convince me that a guy that played before the league was fully integrated should be in my top 10. Like, I get if you have him in your top 10, but personally, when the best corners aren't in the fucking league and you're playing during World War II especially, that took a lot of players out of the NFL, there's just too much factors for me to put you over anybody in my top 10 wide receivers ever. So I'm gonna have to disagree with this one. Our next hot take is from Aaron Jackson 9385. He said, if you look at Joe Montana's 1990 MVP season, I don't see how he deserved it. He regressed from his 89 MVP campaign, throwing 8 more interceptions and dropping 23 points in passer rating. You also have Cunningham and Moon having elite season in 1990. Now, as a 49ers fan, bias aside, I do agree with this take. While Montana had a great year, Randall Cunningham simply should have got the 1990 NFL MVP award. Randall Cunningham threw more touchdowns, had less interceptions, was more efficient that season, and almost had 1,000 yards rushing. So there's really no reason Montana should have got this MVP award, straight up. So yes, I agree. Joe Montana should have won the 1990 MVP. Good take. And for our final take, it takes place in my JJ Watt video, where I call JJ Watt's 2014 season the most dominant defensive season in NFL history. Your boys SAU says, don't ever compare JJ to LT. It's not even close. LT's the last and only defensive player to win the MVP. And then he goes on to say, what has JJ done in 2014 that surpassed LT in the 1986 season? Did he win the MVP or a Super Bowl? JJ never had the impact like that for his team. Now, I already responded in the comments to this guy, but my real response would be, JJ Watt had the same amount of sacks, he had 5 touchdowns that year, and he had more passes defended as a defensive end than Lawrence Taylor had at the outside linebacker position. So I'm just gonna have to disagree with that take all around, but drop some more hot takes. I want to make some more hot take videos. Like, subscribe, and I'll catch y'all boys later for real. Peace.